Hi guys, we're back again. We're back again to talk about some running stuff, and this time, obviously, I'm still injured. And you know that last week, or at least the last video that you saw, I was having trouble accepting it, but I think now I have accepted it. And I do have to say that I do count myself pretty lucky that I'm not feeling injured. Like I'm not in any kind of pain. But if you remember back, I was in pain the same day that I ran. I didn't have any pain on the run, and then like an hour later, I definitely experienced some pain. So that's the main reason that I'm taking an extended time off this time, because even though I know that if I'm not in pain now, it doesn't mean that I won't be in pain after my run. So hopefully a little prevention is going to do the trick. And it's like a saying or something about an ounce of prevention, but I can't think of it right now. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. But today we're going to be talking about the mental side of a running injury, because if you've experienced an injury, there is a mental downside to it. Let's get into it. All right guys, thanks for staying through that intro. Okay, so listen, before we actually get into the article of the mental side of running, and you know what? I think I'm actually going to talk about what we can physically expect with detraining. So maybe we'll just mention that for a few minutes towards the end of this video, but primarily about the mental side of running. But first of all, I just want you to know that I am still planning on running the Tokyo Marathon in March of 2026, and I am raising money for the Ronald McDonald House. And if you would like to be a part of my fundraising efforts, you certainly can. I will place a link in the show notes below, and I will make my top comment have the link in it. So it's very easy for you guys to just click and donate if you so choose. As of the making of this video, you guys have donated $630, which is fantastic and actually puts me 31% of my way to my goal of $2,000. So for all of you that have already donated, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And look, some of you have been just unbelievably generous with your donations. Really, I don't want that. I don't want generosity from like 5 or 6 people. It would be so much better if everyone could just contribute maybe $1, even less than that maybe. I think if everybody just contributed just a little bit, I would reach my goal, and you can go on and contribute to like so many other funds if we're just contributing just a little bit. I guess that's not really how it works. It is all the generous donations that I have got so far that is actually going to get me to the goal. All right guys, well let's get into it. Let's talk about that mental side of running injuries. And by mental side, I mean mental downside. And the first mental downside of running is that you could be a little depressed, and you should allow yourself to be like down in the dumps, right? If you're a runner and now you can't run because of an injury, it's totally understandable that you're going to be maybe a bit upset. So let yourself be upset. And if you are upset, I guess that comes into depression. What are the stages? Something like anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. Is there a 5th stage? Oh, I know the 5th stage. I know the 5th stage is because I actually was in the 5th stage for the longest time. Or not the 5th stage, but the 1st stage, denial. It's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And I think a lot of us spend the most time in denial because, if we're out on a run and suddenly we start feeling something, we are going to deny that that feeling is ever happening. And we will be just hoping that it goes away on its own. And the funny thing is that that actually happens a lot of time. But ultimately, I want you to allow yourself to be upset, because this is worthy about being upset over. Now, once you've spent enough time being upset over, it's time to just move on. It'll be time to start focusing on those survival instincts to get you back to where you need to be. The next step on your mental journey is to focus on the things that you actually can do. And you're going to have to do a little bit of a mind shift here, because obviously you want to run, but you can't do it. But there are just a boatload of other things that you can actually do. I think this is an important time to remember that it could always be worse. But if you have a running injury, it's likely that you could get in a pool and do aqua jogging, get on a bike, go for a bike ride outside, or even a stationary bike in the gym. There's yoga, there's stretching, there's weightlifting, and even walking. Just because you have a running injury doesn't always mean that you're not going to be able to walk. The actual injury that I have right now, and as of yet, it is undiagnosed. I'm hoping it's not a stress fracture. I don't think it is, but I can walk without any pain. Look, that's a really good thing. So look, I know that if you have a running injury, you can't run, but you can still move. And there are lots of different ways to do that. Of course, by doing these different things, you're actually going to have a chance to work on some weaknesses. Maybe some weaknesses that you neglected while you were able to run. So this could actually be a silver lining to that whole injury cloud thing. Of course, focusing on weaknesses is it's not easy to wrap your mind around, because if they are weaknesses, it means it's something that you really don't want to do. So having to focus on something that you don't want to do isn't very appealing. But you know what? Now's the time. And speaking of time, another way to actually mentally hack yourself is to introduce a little appreciation, maybe appreciation that wasn't there before. Because if you're not running, you could have extra time on your hands, and it's important to appreciate that extra time. Do you know what I mean? Like if you wake up early and you go for a run, or let's give you even more time. Let's say you wake up early, you get in the car and you drive to the trails to go for a run, then you run for an hour, you get in the car, you drive home. That's a lot of bonus time that you have introduced. Of course, some of that time is going to be spent maintaining your fitness with all the other activities that I've already mentioned, but it's likely that you're going to have some extra time at some point during the week. So appreciate that. Do something different. This could be a good time to do some stuff around the house that you've been putting off. Now, again, I am really not selling this injury thing because, again, just like working on our weaknesses, that just doesn't sound fun. But it doesn't have to be fun. The point is that I want you to have appreciation, have more time, and you get to do stuff that you couldn't do before because you were running. Gosh, this is starting to make running sound like a bit of a time suck, like such a burden to the rest of my life. But maybe that's how we just mentally hack our brains to get through this time. Now, the article also says that now is the time that you could pick up a new hobby, which sounds like a lot of fun, unless, like every single person in the world, definitely everyone watching this video, time is it's a very valuable commodity. And the thought of picking up a new hobby just, I don't know. I think it's one of those things that actually looks better in print than it is in reality. Because time is one of these things that we just make. Like if I wanted to do something, I would make time and do it. So the idea of picking up a new hobby just because my previous hobby is kind of on hold for a few weeks doesn't really make sense to me. But, you know, if there is a hobby that you wanted to do that you haven't had time to do because of your running, then yeah, this could be a good time. I mean, that's a good reason to be appreciative if you can start a new hobby. The only thing is, if you really like this hobby, as soon as you are healed from injured, are you going to give up that new hobby in order to go back to running? I don't know. Maybe that's one of those things that we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. The article also suggests doing things for others. Now look, again, volunteering is always a good thing. You could volunteer at like local races if you are not sensitive enough to have your non-running kind of rubbed in your face. Volunteering at races is a really good idea. Also, just volunteering in general. Okay, the next way to kind of mentally accept that you are injured and to kind of get through it a little easier is to have all your appointments lined up. And I actually really agree with this one because so when I started feeling this injury, I said to myself, Matt, you're going to take a week off. And I ended up taking 9 days off. And I didn't go to the doctor then. I kind of just self-diagnosed it. But then I went for a run and the pain continued after that run. Now, at that point, when the pain came back, I had immediately had enough, made a doctor's appointment, went to the doctor the same day, had an x-ray, scheduled an MRI for next week. Actually, when this video posts, I will be having my MRI this day. And then I have another doctor's appointment to follow up on the MRI just a little bit after that. But the point is that having my appointments lined up kind of gives me a timeline of when I'm going to be fixed, or at least when I'm going to learn what I should do moving forward. If you procrastinate on making those doctor's appointments, the end or the return to running is just going to be in the distance. It's going to be an abstract concept. And it really helps me to have that plan in place. So that's how I feel, and that's what the article says. So it can't not be true, right? Now, next up, I think this also takes a little bit of a mind shift, maybe, for some of us, and that's to actually do what your doctors or your PT says, right? These are the professionals. These are the people that we're paying to give their opinion to help us get back to full health again. But you know what? And I can only say this from personal experience, but sometimes I don't want to do what they say. If a doctor was to tell me, Matt, just don't run for 6 months and you'll be fine, I would have a very difficult time, like, staying off for 6 months. And I gotta say, I think it would probably come back to bite me, but I think I'd have to find that out for myself. You're not me. You are much more intelligent and capable of making sound decisions, so do what they say. And next up is to practice patience. And I think in the time that we are living in right now, patience is a virtue. Hey, did I just coin a new phrase? Patience is a virtue. Who knew? No, but seriously, if you are more patient, it's going to be a lot easier to get through this difficult time of being injured. And perhaps you won't have to mentally struggle with this condition. I mean, I know not running and just having an injury that was brought on by your running, I don't know, is it a condition? Doesn't seem like it, but I suppose it is. Anyway, practice patience. Okay, let's quickly move on to an article that I saw in Runners Connect, and it talks about what you can expect with a decrease in your training. A time off. It talks about your time off from training and how much you can expect your fitness to decrease during that time. Look, we are just going to fly through this because the information is right there online, and of course I'll place a link in the show notes in case you want to click on this article for yourself. But I think at this point everyone is getting a little tired, and you might just be waiting for me to drop that emoji so you know how you have to let me know that you've made it till, X point in the video, but it's not going to be right now, so stay tuned. Look, I'm going to start off with the good news, and the good news is that there is little evidence to show that your VO2 max is going to drop, it's barely going to drop at all in the first 10 days of not running. Now, there is a caveat that this is in well-trained athletes, but I'm assuming that every single one of you watching this video is well-trained. After 2 weeks of inactivity and not running, your VO2 max is likely going to drop about 6%. After 9 weeks of not running, your VO2 max is going to drop by about 19%. So, after 9 weeks, that's a fairly long time. 19% is also quite a bit, but it's not the end of the world. And because most of us are going to get these little feelings of discomfort, and we're going to call them injuries. If we are taking a couple of weeks off from running, you are really not going to notice too much if you just take a couple of weeks off. Even with that 6% decline in VO2 max, you're going to get that fitness back in just a couple of weeks of structured training. So not too bad at all. So this article in Runners Connect actually gives an example of a 20-minute 5K runner. So let's say at their peak fitness, they're able to run a 5K in 20 minutes. If their VO2 max was to drop by 6%, they would be a 21-minute and 5-second run. After 9 weeks of not running and their VO2 max drops by 19%, will now be a 25-minute and 30-second runner. So this, I don't know, because I'm really not into the whole training to be the very best that I can be every day of the week, I don't look at this as such a big deal. Or what I should say is, I don't look at it as a hole that I can't dig myself out of. And that's how I want you to look at it too. You have to take some time off. Big deal. Look, we're going to be running anyway. You're going to get that fitness back. It's not going to come right away, but you're not scared of hard work. That's how you got injured in the first place. Okay, I think this video has probably gone on long enough. I hope you are not struggling with your injury if you are injured. And for those of you that are not injured, I wish that you would never get injured. But either way, if you have made it till this point in the video, I want you to drop the fingerprint emoji in the comments, just so I know that you made it till this point in the video. So thanks for that. But for now, it's Matt B. This has been a video on the mental side of running, and just very briefly on what you can expect as far as times with your training decrease, how your performance corresponds to it. That was a bit of a mouthful. Anyway, be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.